Hello everyone, my name is Anthony Walker, as you well know. Yes, it's me, it's that H-E-A-D, here for another episode of the Wrestling Matters podcast. And it's kind of been a lackluster week in WWE, to be honest. And wrestling, well, not wrestling news, like WWE TNA-ish as well. But we're going to do the main points, the main talking points from TNA and WWE. We'll talk about anything else that's in the world of wrestling as well. But I have to get this off my chest. Now, take this as a rant, take this as whatever you want to do. There's a lot of people talk about kayfabe with me. And it's certain people, they know who they are. But this is not the time to talk about them, because this is not their, this is not me doing a podcast on them. So this is the Wrestling Matters podcast. But I need to explain the rules and explain the conditions, if you will, of this podcast. There's nothing fake about this podcast, okay? Let's get that straight. All these fake, oh yeah, we do this, we can't say that, and everything like that. I created this podcast because I was inspired by a bunch of people, and they know who they are. I'm going to mention them anyway. Sunday Segue Wrestling Podcast. Okay, I had ideas, something that I wanted to do YouTube-wise and whatnot, and yeah, it kind of worked. Like I said, I had these ideas that I want to do, and hopefully could do. I didn't know how to put it all together. And then I went on an episode of Sunday Segue, and I was inspired. I had these ideas of what I wanted to do and everything, and I just didn't know how to do it. And then I saw an episode of a podcast that was on there, and I thought, yeah, that's it, done. And in April 7th of this year, Wrestling Matters podcast, hosted by me. And I didn't make these podcasts. Do I want to make money from these podcasts? Hell yeah, I do. But that's a different era. That's a different subject. I made these podcasts to be real. I do these podcasts to be, because I'm a wrestling fan, and there's one thing I've learned growing up being a wrestling fan. Everybody has an opinion. I didn't do these to be fake, okay? Why do you think I do my segment, my on again, off again segment, pipe bomb? Because that's me shooting. That is me being real. That is me expressing my opinions to you guys as a fan, truthfully. You don't have to agree with it, but it's your that's your problem, that's your opinion, that's your right, prerogative, if you will. I'm just sick and tired of people coming up to me and say, why did you do this on the podcast? I mean, there's a lot of other people as well, which I won't get into, but listen, if you don't like what happens on these podcasts, no matter what it is I do, or you don't like what happens on my podcast, don't listen to it. I'm not forcing you to listen to it, I'm not forcing you to do anything. I do this because I'm a wrestling fan. I love wrestling. I get to do something on the great sport in the world, sports entertainment in the world, whatever you want to call it. I call it sport, professional wrestling. The one thing I have a passion for in life, whether I'm watching it, whether I'm taking part, at least trying to, or whatever, I will always love professional wrestling. And I'm sick and tired of people saying that you shouldn't do this, that, and the other, and everything. I do what the fuck I want on these shows. See, what you guys need to realize is this. Once upon a time, when I was growing up, there were times where I used to have a filter between my mouth and my brain, which stopped me from saying things that I didn't want to say. Well, that I wanted to say, but couldn't because I know I'd get into trouble. Or I know I'd get heat, or whatever. But one day, I, had my own version of surgery to remove that filter. And now it's gotten to a point now in my life where I just say whatever the fuck I want. I call it as I see it. You don't have to agree with it. That's your choice. I tell it like it is. I call it as I see it. And that's exactly what I do on these podcasts. You want an example? Listen to previous episodes. Especially with the ones with the guests on. Vicky, Earls and James Powers. Hell, Mike Rodriguez as well. We pipe bomb on this show. I pipe bomb on this show because I don't want this show to be some fake podcast. Okay? What you see on this show, or what you hear rather on this show, is what you get. Okay? If somebody came up and asked me, I should do a clean one, yeah, maybe I will do a clean one. But right now, I'd rather do this kind of podcast, when I tell it like it is, and say what the hell, and do whatever I bloody well like. Because I tell you something right now, doing whatever the fuck you want is better than doing something that someone else wants you to do. When you're in control of what you do, believe you me, it is a beautiful thing. Because you can make your own rules. And quite frankly, the rules on this show, there are none. We express our opinions about wrestling because we're fans. I'm a fan. Guests are fans. You guys are fans. It's a simple format. Like I say, no way is this fake. No way I'm going to talk about kayfabe or any of that crap. from the people that I associate myself with, and I know who they are. And I would mention their name, but this podcast is not about them, so I'll leave it for that for another day. I do what the fuck I want on this show. If you don't like it, don't listen to it. I'm not forcing you to. I would love you to, but but this rant is not for all you guys out there that support me. That subscribe to the Wrestling Matters podcast. That download it, visit it, on Podomatic or wherever it is, that want to listen to the podcast, that want to enjoy the podcast, and I love you guys for that. You are why I do this for, you guys, I made a commitment April 7th, and you guys are helping me fulfill that commitment. No matter what, I will be fulfilling the commitment anyway, but you guys are making this all worth it. What I'm doing each and every week, recording these shows to put up on Mondays, on every Monday, feedback that I get, the ratings that I get on Podomatic, the download views or whatever, even though they're small, and we're working on it, it's a small process, nothing happens overnight, but what I see on them stats and everything, and the feedback that I get, because of you guys, it makes me do this, makes what I do each and every week all worth it. What I don't want is douchebags and idiots who try to spoil it for me. I don't cater to you. I cater to the people that subscribe and give a damn. I want to hear these podcasts. I don't cater to anybody else. If you don't like these podcasts, don't listen. I cater to the people that care, that are wrestling fans, that want to express their opinions. And I tell you something right now, you want to express your opinions, you are more than welcome to come on my show and do it. Because I guarantee you, there'll be no censorship, believe you me. Anyway, moving on from that rant. Sorry about if you guys were offended by that, then I apologize, but it is what it is. I had to get that off my chest because I'm sick of people trying to spoil this kind of thing. Spoil things that I'm trying to do for me for fun. It just gets on my bloody nerves. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the Raw main points. And quite frankly, in my opinion, was a lackluster Raw. But we do main points on this show, so here it is. Raw kicked off this week with a Hall of Fame forum discussion involving Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. And then along came John Cena. Having been brutalized by Brock Lesnar, John Cena faced perhaps his second worst challenge of the past month. A grilling from a council of WWE Hall of Famers. In the midst of preparing for his rematch against the Beast incarnate at Night of Champions, Cena was forced to listen to less than favourable analysis from Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels. Hogan was the lone advocate of the forum. When the C Nation leader did make his entrance, he offered a respectful but forceful rebuttal to the Hall of Famers' hot take. When all was said and done, Cena left the legends with a promise that he would return the beating he was given at SummerSlam to Brock Lesnar. Basically, he turned around and said he's not going to Night of Champions to beat Brock Lesnar. He's going to Night of Champions to beat Brock Lesnar's ass. Will that happen? We will see. Might the United States title be coming home to Switzerland? 2 years after previously holding the Star-Spangled title, and 2 months since last challenging for it, Cesaro found himself once again at the front of the line to challenge Sheamus for All Glory after defeating Rob Van Dam to claim the opportunity. He certainly had to pay for the honour, though. A super kick early on from Rob Van Dam nearly sent the King of Swing shooting up the ramp. Despite a brief recovery by Cesaro, RVD rallied enough to set his opponent up for the 5-star frog splash, though the Swiss Superman rolled out of the way and bounced RVD's neck first off the ropes when RVD chased him. One neutralized later, Cesaro was the number one contender. One thing's for sure, Night of Champions, which is where that's looking to go, Sheamus and Cesaro will be a fight. Cesaro's getting his mojo back after breaking up with Heyman, which is good. It has been a week since Dean Ambrose was curb-stomped through a pile of cinder blocks, and there's still no sign of the former United States Heavyweight Champion. So of course Seth Rollins and Kane took a moment on Raw to proclaim no less than Ambrose's ultimate demise at their hands, proclaiming himself as the ultimate destroyer of the Shield, provide a tad premature for Rollins. However, as Roman Reigns was quick to step up to the plate, attacking both his former brother and the Devil's favourite director of operations and corporate brown-noser in the attempt to finish what Ambrose started. That Kane saved Rollins in the last second says a lot about how close Reigns came to doing so. Contrary to the song, authority doesn't always win, but authority certainly won on Raw when Seth Rollins and Kane teamed up to decimate Roman Reigns in a 2-on-1 handicap match, for which the big dog found himself unexpectedly overmatched. Despite an early burst that sent Kane tumbling and Rollins all but begging for mercy, Reigns didn't exactly take away the authority's two weapons. A double team from Kane and Rollins, shades ironically of the Shield, put Reigns on the defensive. The former tag team champion reclaimed enough momentum to drop Kane with a spear, but Rollins came in and attacked Reigns with the Money in the Bank briefcase, ending the match via disqualification. A 2-on-1 beatdown began after the match softened Reigns for a potential curve stomp, though enough pile of cinder blocks, but Reigns fought out back to escape, narrowly crushing Rollins' head with throwing one of the cinder blocks straight at him. He missed. He might not next time though. The main event, which supposedly saw John Cena vs Bray Wyatt, turned into a 6-man tag. The Wyatts did not go quietly into defeat, but when faced with the largest team on the planet and a former world champion looking to send a message, defeat is all but inevitable. For a majority of the match, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan continued their rivalry with Big Show and Mark Henry, with the Swamp Giants teeing off in tandem against the two former world heavyweight champions. Bray Wyatt seemed more interested in celebrating his magnificence than capitalizing after Big Show was all but dispatched and suffered a chokeslam in response. Cena entered off Show's tag and quickly tapped out Harper with the STF, though he had time for a few more messages and some attitude adjustments to each member of the Wyatts, sending a message to a certain beast and world heavyweight champion. Now on to TNA's main talking points. From the crowd, Kurt Angle runs down tonight's card, including the first 3 matches between the Hardy Boys, Team 3D, and the World Tag Team Champions, the Wolves. MVP, Lashley, and Kenny King interrupt Angle. MVP claims to have lost respect for Kurt Angle because he panders to the fans who, with their smartphones and 140 characters, think they can book matches. MVP mocks the NYC fans by calling them savages with no class and less dignity. MVP claims Lashley is the king of New York. Tommy Dreamer enters the ring, saying they're better than this. Dreamer says Lashley finally lived up to his potential and became the most dominant professional wrestling world heavyweight champion ever seen. King with a cheap shot sends Dreamer flying out of the ring. Dreamer with a Singapore cane attacks Kenny King. Angle interrupts and books Lashley against Tommy Dreamer in a New York City street fight. Lashley attacks Dreamer and the bell sounds. The innovator of violence, Tommy Dreamer, commands an early advantage when he attacks Lashley with a trash can lid and a Singapore cane. Lashley counters a swinging of the cane, dropping Dreamer onto the ramp. Lashley powers Dreamer into the guardrail and strikes hard with a fist to Dreamer's face. Lashley rolls Dreamer into the ring and drives 2 stiff shoulders into the abdomen, before locking in a bear hug. Dreamer counters but is powered down to the mat by Lashley. Kenny King attempts interference, but Dreamer sidesteps a spear from Lashley that connects with King. Dreamer grabs the trash can and smashes it over Lashley's head, and then leaps from the top rope with a Singapore cane. Lashley counters with a powerful clothesline that follows up with a spear and a 1-2-3. Lashley wins. Bobby Roode enters the ring to address the controversial finish to last week's 6 Sides of Steel match. Roode says Angle has to decide to host another number 1 contenders match for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. He says the match will be between himself and Eric Young, and it will take place next week. Eric Young enters. Bobby Roode says it will be an honor to face EY next week. Eric Young says he was the fans' world champion, the people's champion, if you will, that he did it for them. EY says Bobby Roode is the best wrestler in the business. Guess we'll find out who the number one contender is this coming Wednesday. I would have said just put him in a three-way. Made a whole lot of sense to me, if you ask me. Put him in a three-way, let him go. EC3 attacks Rhino immediately, but Rhino counters and throws EC3 to the outside. Rhino launches EC3 into the guide rail, drives his face into another rail, and then rolls him back in the ring. EC3 jumps forward with a clothesline as Rhino re-enters the ring. EC3 chokes him on the middle rope before landing an elbow drop and driving Rhino's face repeatedly into the mat. EC3 locks a chokehold. EC3 hits Rhino with the Carter clothesline and reapplies the chokehold. Rhino refuses to tap out and eventually explodes with a series of hard takedowns. Rhino stalks EC3, but Rockstar Spud grabs his ankle, distracting both Rhino and the ref. EC3 nails a low blow. Rhino powers out and at 2 and counters EC3 with a clothesline and a belly-to-belly. The crowd start chanting, "Go, go, go!" But again, Spud interferes and EC3 attacks with a chair. EC3 bashes Rhino over and over and over, threatening the ref and Rockstar Spud in the process. Time for the main event. And Davey Richards begin the match. Eddie Edwards and Davey exchange rapid tags and double teams assault to the shoulder of Bully Ray. Bully reverses one attempt and takes control of Davey Richards with a series of loud chops. Davey returns a series of kicks to the chest of Bully. Bully powers Davey to the mat and Devon climbs the turnbuckle. Eddie nails a kick to Devon's head, sending him from the top rope. The Wolves take control until the Hardys break into the match. Team 3G ejects the Hardys, then power Davey Richards down with a double team drop. Devon stalks Davey and Matt Hardy tags himself into the match. He drags Davey to his corner and tags his brother Jeff. Together they assault Davey, continuing to work on the arm. Matt goes for a pin. Following a side effect, Devon interrupts the count, which brings Eddie Edwards into the match. Eddie attacks Devon and Matt, then Bully and Jeff. The Hardys begin to gain control, but the Wolves counter a double clothesline from the Hardys and connecting with suicide dive to Team 3D. Jeff flies over the top rope, taking out the Wolves. Matt leaps from the top rope, connecting with a moonsault to Team 3D and the Wolves. Matt and the Wolves make it back into the ring, and there is a near fall on Matt. Devon tags himself into the match, but the Wolves howl, drop kick back to back, double foot stomps onto Devon. He breaks the count, but is met with an injection from the ring by Matt Hardy. The Wolves battle Devon and the Hardys in the ring, but Devon gains control long enough to score a 3D with a victory. Team 3D will choose the stipulation for the second match. Be interesting to see what it is, but I think I already know what it might be. SmackDown main points, ladies and gents. Roman Reigns battled Bray Wyatt in a huge opening match that ended in a disqualification victory from the black-clad superstar after he was attacked at ringside by Wyatt's fearsome followers. Fortunately, powerhouse superstar Big Show and Mark Henry arrived to tip the scales in Reigns' favour, sending Rowan straight into earth-shattering Superman punch. Soon after the chaotic opening scuffle, it was announced that Big Show, Mark Henry and Roman Reigns would clash with the Wyatts in a massive 6-man tag team match for the main event. More on that later. If nothing else, The Miz knows how to protect his moneymaker after calling on his stunt double Damien Mizdow to take his place in his match against Sheamus. About his replacement would unfortunately lose. Well, ultimately lose. The Awesome One attempted to hit the Irish superstar and run. Didn't work. Dolph Ziggler arrived in time to send the cocky superstar back into the squared circle through. Still, the elusive Miz was able to avoid the Celtic Warriors bro kick by ducking out of the way and retreating through the WWE Universe. Miz's bearded stunt double wasn't as lucky as the United States champion. Boot kicked the hair right off the furry face of Damien Mizdow. I mean, I said that there because there wasn't that much on SmackDown this week, but I just don't like Miz. Let's face it, this character the Miz is portraying, He just turned into a rock wannabe. That's what he's turned into. It's ridiculous. Dolph Ziggler's got his number, and at Night of Champions, he'll probably retain. Anyway, to the main event. Roman Reigns, Big Show, and Mark Henry began their match against the Wyatt family in dramatic fashion, with the six behemoths staring each other down in the middle of the ring. This was just the calm before the storm. However, as their hulking superstars proceeded to engage in an anonymous main event clash that had the WWE fans cheering, "This is awesome." The chaotic clash had no shortage of fast-paced action, highlighted by a 7-foot, 400-pound plus Big Show performing a sunset flip aimed to frighten chaos, the body scattering around the ring. Reigns launched himself over the ropes to deliver a match-ending spear on Luke Harper to get the victory. Be interested to see what happens on Raw this coming week, and hopefully Raw is a better show than this one just got. I pray on that, because in my opinion, Raw stuck the joint out. Anyway, I'll be back after this promo with my views and opinions on the world of wrestling. So stay tuned for that. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Anthony Walker, the host of the Wrestling Matters podcast, and you can now check out the Wrestling Matters podcast on youtube.com/AJW Wrestling Matters. You can now go to podomatic.com, iTunes, and now also you can go to a new one. That's right, a new site, Stitcher Radio. That's right, we're on Stitcher Radio right now. I'm on Stitcher Radio right now, and you could be too. Get yourself on there, download their app, the Stitcher Radio app, or the Stitcher app, whatever it is. Make sure you download their app, and you can listen to it on your phone, anywhere you want, at any time you want, at any place you want. That's the Wrestling Matters podcast now on YouTube, iTunes, Podomatic, and Stitcher Radio. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change!
It is Sunday, and you're listening to the Sunday Segue Wrestling Podcast.
Give me a hell yeah! Get some love! Ooh, yeah!
With Kenny Killer.
Hey, yo! We're in the big D tonight, baby, and we are live! Woo!
I'm the Goddamn Sugar Shoe.
The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be! Cause that's the bottom line! The Stone Cold Simpson!
Download the Sunday Segue Wrestling Podcast now at iTunes. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final part of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Sorry for the main points being so low and probably boring, because, hey, Raw was boring. Absolutely shocking. Hopefully this coming week's Raw will improve. A lot of people on Twitter didn't like Raw. One particular person said that she fell asleep and just woke up after Raw finished, kind of thing. Somewhere around about that region, but Raw was a piss poor show. However, I'm going to talk about my views and opinions as well, but before I do, I just wanted to let you know, please go to my YouTube page. If you want to hear the Wrestling Matters podcast, I'm doing some new stuff as well, at least I'm trying to, on the for the channel as well, hopefully. I'm trying to do some new stuff for the channel, but it's kind of one of them situations, if you will, you know, to build on it fast and get things sorted out, and I'm a little bit busy at the moment, but I'll get it done ASAP. I'm inviting games to the channel too, but don't worry, just because there's games coming on the channel doesn't mean to say the podcasts ain't coming on the channel. There's going to be a lot of wrestling stuff. It is a wrestling and games channel, mainly wrestling. But yeah, please go and subscribe to it. It's my YouTube page. If you haven't subscribed to it, please do. It is www.youtube.com/A, J, W, and then Wrestling Matters in one word. All in one word. AJW Wrestling Matters. All in one word. Yeah, and just go and subscribe to it. There's a lot of stuff on there as well. I'm trying to promote it as best I can, but I don't know how. But yeah, that's the building block of where you can see the podcast as well. You can hear all the podcasts from episode 1 onwards. Make sure you subscribe to that as well. And if you have anything to say about the channel, please feel free to leave a comment underneath. Now to some views and opinions in the world of wrestling. Now, apparently, Dave Bautista has said recently that he's done with wrestling due to his movie success and everything, and apparently the new movie that's been released featuring him, I think it's a Gladiator something, Galaxy or something. If I got that wrong, I don't know, I haven't took any notice of it, but apparently it's a big hit. It's been number 1 and number 2, and been in the top 2 at least, in the UK and US charts, so he's got a successful movie career on him. Apparently he says he's done with wrestling due to that, but websites say otherwise, that he's done with the wrestling. He says he's done with it until at least 2015. Now, I don't know, if people, a lot of people still give this guy grief, me included, and a lot of still give the WWE grief that he should never have won the Royal Rumble. But with him saying now he's done until 2015 or 2000, whatever it is, he says that it's kind of made this year's Royal Rumble, not the Royal Rumble pay-per-view itself, the Royal Rumble match, it's kind of made it look like shit, really, because he came back, got his championship match at WrestleMania, even though it wasn't 1-on-1. Triple H promised him, and he leaves to go and do this movie. But it's kind of made it look like crap, and he even slagged it off by saying, reportedly saying, that all the wrestlers do pretty much is the same shit. That's what he got during this quick Q&A that he did in Toronto, August 30th. I don't know what the hell the future holds for Dave Bautista, but if he's got a movie career, then good luck to him. But it'd be interesting to see the backlash, if there is any backlash of that. For information on that, go to nodq.com and probably every other wrestling website as well on news and that. So check it out. Links will be in the description if you see this on YouTube. Now, apparently Jake the Snake Roberts has been in hospital. Oh God, never fails for this poor bastard. The doctors say he's not in a coma. So, well, apparently they say he's not in a coma, but from what I'm reading, and you could send him messages at Jake the Snake DDT on Twitter, and Get Better Jake, hashtag Get Better Jake. So yeah, get well soon, Jake Roberts. I haven't followed the Twitter, so this might not be, this might not be accurate. It might be okay, it might not be. So don't bust my balls on this. But if this is the case, then I haven't been on Twitter for a couple of days, and I haven't seen anything. This is the first time I've seen this. Yeah, it's not good for Jake. So hashtag Get Better Jake. You can leave it on Twitter at Jake the Steak DDT. So make sure you do that. I'll probably do that myself. Poor bastard. Nothing ever seems to go right for Roberts, does it? Seriously. He's in great condition now thanks to DDP's yoga treatment and that. But this, when you think he's going up, there's always like a little something to bring him back down. Give the guy a break, man, for real. Anyway, not much to talk about in wrestling this week. Not that much to talk about. Apparently TNA have announced several wrestlers for Bound for Glory. If it's still going to be there. Apparently Bound for Glory this year, I believe it's this year, is going to be in Tokyo, October 12th. So this should be a hoot. And apparently the names that have been mentioned for the show are the Great Sonata, copycat of the Great Muda, which is mental, but this is James Storm's doing. If you watched Impact this past week, you know what I'm talking about. Manic, Bram, Abyss, EC3, James Storm, Samoa Joe, MVP, Eddie Edwards, and Davey Richards. But that might not take place. Davey Richards, simple, because I've just found out that at a house show, I believe it was this past weekend from what I read, I don't know, but it was at a house show nonetheless. Davey Richards suffered a broken leg, so we don't know how long he's out, probably a while, because you don't recover from a broken leg that quickly. Once you get a broken leg, you're fucked. So whether he'll be at the Bound for Glory, it looks very, very unlikely. And also Team 3D will be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And from what I'm hearing, sorry, that's my phone going off, if you're wondering, if also to wonder as well if this could be TNA's last pay-per-view, because as we all know, Spike TV have pulled the plug on their contract with TNA, and it'll be interesting to see where the TNA go next, and there still hasn't been any word on it or update on it, but it's been very documented that Spike TV have pulled the plug on their contract deal in America. I have no idea where they're going to go next, but like I said, they better find it, otherwise Bound for Glory may be the last pay-per-view in TNA's history, unless they come up with something quick. TNA seems to be doing well. Question is, can they survive? We'll see. See if there's anything else. Apparently King Mo says wrestling is harder than MMA. I'm not even going to go on. I'm not even going to say anything about that. Apparently, speaking of what I've just said there, apparently TNA have received an offer from another network. The sources said that the company has been offered a new home on a new network that wasn't as big as Spike TV. According to Rajgirl of Wrestling Inc., sorry if I got that name wrong, Discovery Network's Velocity channel has offered TNA a time slot. Velocity is only in 48 million homes and is available in HD only. Well, I suppose it's better than now, I suppose. But apparently the big issue with this deal would be the rights fee, which is less than a quarter of what TNA is currently getting from Spike TV. So if I was TNA, I'd take it. I'd take it until further notice, and take it quick. Otherwise, they're going to be out of business. So they're going to do something and do it quick. So there you have it. It's been offered. WWE. Rob Van Dam finished up his WWE run this past week. A fan on Twitter asked if he was gone for good. Rob replied, for better or worse. For better or for worse. TNA star Chris Sabin recently appeared on the Shining Wizards podcast and noted that his goal is to work for WWE. Sabin said that has been his goal since he was a kid. Question is, what will WWE do with him, and will WWE see any talent in him? They didn't with the Wolves. Right, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, I'm going to end it there with the podcast. Make sure you check out, please go on to my YouTube page, www.youtube.com/A, Wrestling Madness, all one word, and check out the links in the description, and also on Podomatic too, if you're checking that out, of all the Twitter followers that I've put in there. Make sure you check them out, make sure you follow them, because trust me, you will not be disappointed. And with that being said, also, I think it's October 31st, EPW Wrestling, if you're in the area, is doing a show. I will promote that next show, episode 23, I will promote that next show, get all the information down, write it down, so listen out for that as well. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, my name is the Anthony Walker. This has been episode 22 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. Till next time, till next week rather, goodbye.